And welcome back to the channel. Mr. Acolyte here, coming at you with my final guide for Captain Ginyu. This has been in the works for a long time. I've been wanting to do this for a very long time. Many years ago, I released a two-part guide on how to play Ginyu around Season 3, and since then, the Captain has seen many changes, many updates, many buffs, so it's about time I go ahead and update him. And what better time now that the game is officially in its final season? There will be no more patches, so what better time than now than to fully update the guide and teach everybody everything they need to know about playing the ultimate and strongest version of Captain Ginyu the game has ever seen. This guide, as with all of my guides, is designed to be very in-depth, but also extremely easy to follow. So whether you are new to the game or have a little bit of knowledge, or you're somewhere in between, you should be able to follow along with this guide. And by the time you get to the end, I promise you will know everything you need to know about playing Captain Ginyu. We're going to go ahead and go one by one. We'll start with his kit, and then we'll go through every aspect of the game, from neutral to pressure to Oki to combos and all that good stuff. And by the end, you'll have everything you need to start playing Captain Ginyu at a competent level. But before we get started, make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, because it does help out the video a lot and I do appreciate it. If you want to see more from me in the future, I do a lot of fighting game content, a lot of match videos, match reviews, and guides. If you want to see some more of that and you're new around here, feel free to hit the subscribe button. But other than that, let's go ahead and jump right on into this. Okay, so the first thing we're going to go ahead and break down is Ginyu's kit, because we need to understand his tools if we're going to understand how to play him properly. Ginyu's kit is both simple and complicated at the same time. It's simple because he only has one special move, but it's complicated because he has a whole lot of summons. So starting with his singular special move, he has his 236 L, M, or H, and that does the shoulder. This is his only special move, and it is a pretty good one. The L version travels the full length of the screen and is safe on block. On hit, it can easily combo into assists or vanishes. The M version travels a little bit slower, but causes a smash on hit. This is going to be your go-to combo starter in the corner. And the H version travels the fastest and gives you a wall bounce. This is good for a variety of things. It pushes the opponent away on block, gives you a combo on hit, and again, it is very, very fast. All three of these can be done in the air. The only thing to note in terms of differences is that it just does not travel as far. But of course, the real focus of Ginyu's kit is his ability to summon. Every time you press the S button, Ginyu will summon one of 4 of the Ginyu Force members. The order which he calls the members is always going to be the same. When the match starts, it's always going to be Guldo, Raccoon, Birder, and then Jeese. The member order cannot be skipped or shifted around or changed in any way. It's always going to be that order. So the first thing you need to do when picking up this character is familiarize yourself with the order, because it really is the most important aspect of the whole character. The reason it's so important is because you have to do specific sequences for each member. So the way you would apply pressure with Guldo is different from the way you would apply it with Raccoon. Just like the combo you would do with Birder is different from the combo you would do with Jeese. So in order to do your combos or your setups or your block strings or anything, you need to always be aware of whose turn it is and whose turn it's going to be next. Okay, so that's enough about the rotation and how important that is. Let's go ahead and briefly go over what each summon actually does. We'll just break down what the summons do, and then in the following sections we'll explain how to actually use them. So starting with Guldo, his 5S summon is he throws a spike at you. This is one of your best summons because it is fast and it tracks the opponent's location. So even if they are jumping, super dashing, whatever, Guldo will lock onto them and target them with the spike. That is a very, very good, very reliable summon. The next summon for Guldo is his 236. If you do 236S, he will appear near the opponent. Now, his position depends on your position. If you're full screen, he'll appear right in front of them and shout at them. But if you are anywhere else other than full screen, he will appear behind the opponent. So just think you're doing 236, you're doing down forward. So just keep in mind that down forward means Guldo is going to target the opponent. If this hits the opponent, it freezes them in time for a split second, giving you time to run up and get a combo. And yes, it'll even freeze them in midair. And finally, we have Guldo's 214 summon. It is the shout again, but this one summons close to Ginyu's location. Next up is Recoome. His 5S summon is the Recoome Kick. This is a very nice poke. It goes full screen. It starts up a little slow, but that's really not a problem. We'll talk about why a little bit later. But it has a lot of block stun, as you can see, plus 35 on block. That's very, very high. And on hit, it grants a wall bounce, so it's very easy to run up and get a combo. Recoome's 236 is the Eraser Gun. While it has pretty slow startup, this is a fantastic summon just due to the fact that it is a huge, long-lasting beam. I don't feel like I have to really go into too much explanation on why that's good. It's amazing on block. It obscures you a little bit. It's kind of hard to see what Ginyu's doing when he's inside the beam. And obviously, if it hits, it is super, super easy to get a combo off of it. And then Recoome's last summon is his 214. This is the Bomber. Recoome will come out, do this very long sequence, and then blow up. So basically the whole point of this is it is an anti-projectile shield. That's why he's not really doing anything, because if the opponent is throwing projectiles, this is meant to block it. On block, it has pretty decent block stun, but the biggest draw of it is if it actually hits, it does a massive, like huge amount of damage, and it pops them way up for a combo, and it has almost infinite hit stun. So even if you're at the end of a long combo and they get hit by it, they will still do that giant pop-up, and it'll still do a bunch of damage. It is a very, very powerful attack if you set it up right. Next up is Birder. His 5S does a series of rapid kicks. This is your fastest summon. It comes out really, really fast. So fast that you can get away with kind of stealing turns with it. It also goes full screen. And it's important to note that this particular summon is dependent on Ginyu's height. Wherever Ginyu is when you do it, that's where Birder will appear. On block, it gives really high block stun at plus 40, and on hit, it makes the opponent spin out and gives you a combo. Birder's 236 is the fastest in the universe. He flies back and forth across the screen 4 times. It is a very long-lasting assist, and it is designed to knock opponents out of the air. If the opponent is jumping, this will knock them down so that you can pressure them. And if they actually get hit by this, it has insane hit stun, and much like the Cyberman, it will combo the opponent on its own. His 214 is similar, except he does a grounded version. For the grounded version, he flies only 2 times instead of 4, but the big draw of this one is that it can pull the opponent out of the corner. And closing out with Jeese, his 5S is the Crusher Ball. This will target the opponent anywhere on screen. It is a tracking attack. It doesn't matter if they are on the ground or if they're jumping. Geese will appear above their head and throw the Crusher Ball at them. This is a Ki Blast property attack, so keep in mind that the opponent can super dash after blocking it. His 236 is the Purple Comet Crash. His 214 is also the Purple Comet Crash. So the only difference between the two is the direction that Geese is facing. If you do the 236, he will appear in front of Ginyu and shoot in that direction. And if you do the 214, he will appear behind Ginyu and fire in that direction. Now, there are two important things to note about Purple Comet. One is that it is also a Ki Blast, so the opponent can super dash and reflect and all that good stuff. And number two, since this attack uses Birder, it will interrupt whatever animation Birder is in. So if I have Birder doing his fastest in the universe flight, and then I call Purple Comet, since Birder is part of the Purple Comet, it'll interrupt it and make him go into that animation instead. So make sure you keep that in mind when you summon Purple Comet, because you might end up messing up one of your setups or one of your combos if you call it too early. Okay, so that does it for the basics of Ginyu summons. We talked about the rotation and what each of the summons do, so now you should have a good understanding of how his summons work. But there is still one more key aspect of his summoning to talk about, and that is the delay. Being able to delay Ginyu summons gives you a whole bunch of versatility in your neutral, your pressure, and even your combos. It just frees him up and basically gives him a whole extra set of summons and timings to work with. The best way to think about delayed summons is to think of them more like assists. When you do a regular summon, while it is very strong, there is a slight limitation by the fact that you have to wait until Ginyu is out of the animation before you can actually move and apply your pressure. However, when you hold it, you can move into the proper position and take more advantage of the assist. Plus 20 from right here is a lot better than plus 20 from way back here. We're going to go over a lot more examples in the situations where you'll actually be using them later on, but just for now, keep in mind that you can switch up your timing of every summon to help you get a better situation and to help mix up your opponent. Okay, so now that we understand the basics of Ginyu's kit, let's go ahead and start breaking down how to apply those tools to an actual match, starting with neutral. Now, neutral is an insanely wide category, and honestly, I could make an entire guide on Ginyu's neutral alone. That's just how deep it goes. But for the sake of brevity, I'm going to try to condense it down into key points that you should know and key things to keep in mind. Key point number one, and this is the most important one. I kind of said it earlier, but I'm going to repeat it a few more times throughout this guide just to make sure you understand how important it is. And that is the next available summon. This is, again, the most important part of playing the character, because you have to know whose turn it is in order to be able to plan your next attack and react to the situation at hand. So let's give a quick and easy to understand example real quick. Let's say that I'm fighting a base Goku and he's about to super dash at me, or I just feel like he's about to super dash at me. If I know for a fact that it is Guldo's turn, that means my next summon should be Guldo 5S, because if he super dashes, Guldo will win. And if he does nothing, I'll get a turn. So you can see how just knowing what summon is available will greatly affect how you even move around the screen and what actions you take. Let's say I'm not paying attention and instead I just autopilot to Birder's fastest in the universe. we both just got hit. I didn't actually pay attention to the situation. I didn't know what assist was at hand, so I made the wrong decision, and right now I'm getting comboed and carried to the corner. And that's going to lead us to the important point number 2, and that is the opponent's position. Wherever the opponent is positioned, that's usually going to dictate what kind of options they use. If they're farther away, they're a lot more likely to use projectiles and beams, which means that you should use summons that are good against those options. So in this example, I feel like base Goku here is about to throw a beam at me, because from this range, his beam is very fast. If it hits me, he's going to get a combo for it, and if I block it, he's going to get pressure. So it's highly likely he's going to want to throw a beam at me. Now, if I feel like I have a hunch that that beam is coming, and I also know it's Jis's turn, I can preemptively do this. Because of the fact that Jis tracks the opponent's location, it is very safe for me to jump and call him, and I will simultaneously jump over the beam, and Jis will punish them if I'm right. So right there, I'm gonna get a combo, and I'm punishing base Goku all at the same time. And again, if I'm wrong, I'll just get pressure anyway, because I'll be plus 20. So here's another example of just playing based on whose turn it is, and also working in how do you think your opponent is going to react in the current situation. Make sure you never forget to work your opponent into your plans, because the opponent is the biggest obstacle in your match, and you should never ignore them. All right, so now that we understand the mindset of Ginyu's neutral, let's go ahead and actually break down his neutral tools. I'm gonna go ahead and recommend which summons I think are best in neutral with each of the force members. Starting with Guldo, I recommend his 5S. I kind of already demonstrated why it's so good, but just a reminder, it does completely track the opponent's location. It's plus on block and gives you a easy combo conversion on hit. And most importantly of all, again, it beats Super Dash. People are gonna be Super Dashing at you like crazy, so this is the best way to get your offense started, by using Guldo's 5S. Recoome, his best option is the Eraser Gun. Eraser Gun just takes up so much space. It's insanely plus, and if it actually does connect, it drags the opponent all the way to the corner for a free combo conversion. Eraser Gun is cheap. But with all that being said, don't sleep on Recoome Kick. Recoome Kick is very, very good too. What's great about it is that it comes out a little bit faster than Eraser Gun, and it reflects Ki Blasts. And this might be a good time to just talk about anti-Ki Blast in general. Ginyu himself is Ki Blast invincible when you're doing any of his S summons. So I'm gonna go ahead and have Goku here throw Ki Blast at me, and I'm gonna hold S. So as you can see, the Ki Blast passed right through me, and Recoome still came out, and I was able to block any follow-up Ki Blasts. Not all of your summons will pass through Ki Blasts. For example, I didn't mention it with Guldo because he loses to Ki Blasts. Guldo himself is invincible, but his spike is not. So his spike will get destroyed. So if you're fighting anybody with a multi-Ki Blast, that won't work, but Ginyu himself will not get shot. So if you're worried about getting shot by Ki Blast at neutral, remember that instead of doing 2-3-6 all the time, 5S is the much safer option, because you basically have to be shot by a beam. Moving on to Birder, another easy recommendation here. His 2-3-6, the fastest in the universe, is by far his best summon. This one is obvious again. I feel like I don't have to go into too much detail. It completely cuts off the sky space, you know, forcing the opponent to interact with you on the ground. If they get hit by this, just like the Cyberman, it gives you free combo confirms. Very, very cheap. And ultimately, once it conditions the opponent to stay grounded, you can basically get in for free by utilizing assists. Assists plus Birder equals you taking up the entire screen, basically. And Geese is the only one that's a tad bit complicated. His is going to depend on the situation and what you want to do as a player. So Crusher Ball, as I demonstrated earlier, is fantastic in most instances because it's very fast, it tracks everywhere on screen, and it gives a ground bounce. So Crusher Ball is just great. You can just throw it out. It's very safe, and it's very hard to even punish Ginyu for doing it. However, it's very tempting to do Purple Comet as well because Purple Comet takes up so much screen space for so long. So my recommendation is keep an eye on your opponent, and if you feel like you can get some sort of a punish, then go for Crusher Ball. But if you feel like you want to buy yourself some time against a really aggressive opponent and you want them to back off, that's when it's good to call out Purple Comet, because it's hard for them to pressure you knowing that the Purple Comet is about to shoot them in the back. Okay, so now we know what the best summons at neutral are. So let's go ahead and talk about how to optimize those summons. The best way, in my opinion, is by pairing your summons together. This is something I haven't mentioned yet, but Ginyu can have up to 2 summons on the screen at a time. This means that you can pair 2 summons together and further maximize their strengths and even cover their weaknesses. Let's go ahead and look at a quick example. We've talked a bunch already about how great Guldo's 5S is because of its tracking and how plus it is on block even from full screen. Now we can use those plus frames to basically guarantee us a second summon, and that allows us to get Eraser Gun out. So if you pair the Spike with Eraser Gun, it becomes very difficult for the opponent to interrupt Eraser Gun and puts them in a position where they basically are forced to interact with it in some way. By properly pairing these 2 assists, you can literally go from neutral to pressure in an instant. This is partially why Ginyu's summons are called a rotation, because you can literally rotate all the summons into each other and just keep your pressure going in a way that is very hard for your opponent to deal with, and usually results in either you zoning them or again moving in for some strong pressure options. And the last key aspect of Ginyu's neutral that we absolutely have to talk about is assist calling. So assists are a huge aspect of Ginyu's kit in general. I mean, it's a huge aspect of this game and every character, but Ginyu himself benefits highly from assists. Because we already talked about how your opponent's not just going to sit there and let you summon. Sometimes you're going to need good reads and good movements to get your summons out, but having assists available is basically like a shortcut, because one singular assist call can lead to an entire string of Ginyu offense. This is why it's very important to make sure you always pair Ginyu with some very good and reliable neutral assists. I would recommend beam styles. It doesn't have to be a beam, it can be a beam-like, but just make sure you have something that is full screen. There's going to be certain matchups or just certain times in a match where you're just going to want that guarantee that, yeah, I can get the party started. And it's very easy to get the party started if you just call out one singular assist. Okay, now it's time to finally move on to the next section, and that is offense. Let's go ahead and break down how to actually apply pressure with the captain and the squad. But before we get into summoning pressure, we're gonna have to talk about something a little more basic that we haven't talked about yet, and that is the captain's buttons. We can't do our block strings if we don't know how our buttons work. Let's go ahead and quickly break those down. So all things considered, the captain does have some pretty darn good buttons. Starting with his 5L, it is a pretty standard 5L. It has the standard speed of 6 frames. It is -3 on block, which is not that bad. Probably the best thing about it is its reach. It's got pretty good reach for 5Ls. It reaches pretty far, so that's always a plus. And if you hold back, it can actually stagger into itself. So he does have a 4LL, which not everybody has. So that's really nice. His 2L is not a low-hitting 2L. Could you imagine if it was? It's not a low-hitting 2L, but it is 0 on block, meaning that you don't lose your turn, so it is a fantastic stagger button. His auto combo is multi-hitting. This is really good. Not only is it multi-hitting, but it lunges pretty far. So this makes it a pretty good auto combo. It's decent against Reflect. And the best thing, again, it being multi-hitting means that you can use it to beat vanishes and guard cancels. Moving on to his 5M, it is a lunging punch, as you can see here. It has a nice startup of 10 frames, that is pretty fast for a medium, and it has great frame data. It's only -2 on block, so you don't really lose your turn here. 2M also goes a pretty decent distance. If you're up close, it hits in 10 frames. That's just barely close enough to being fast enough to mix people up. And it is -5 on block, so you do lose your turn here, but you are not punishable. And then, of course, there is the God button. The button that is spoken of in legend. The greatest button in the entire game, barring Vegito's 5M. That is Ginyu 5H. Boy, oh boy, what can this button not do? So to start off with, it is just a standard kick. But if you can notice, Base Goku is ducking. This is a low. So Ginyu does have an extra low at the end of his string that people have to watch out for. But that's not all. There's more. You can charge it. So you can charge it and travel almost basically the entire screen and still hit the opponent low. But that's not all. While you're charging it, you can control it. If you hold back, you will move backwards, and you can even move backwards, then forwards. You can kind of try to mix up and fake the opponent out. You can even bait reflex with this. It's pretty crazy. But even that is not all. If you press up during the spin, you will hop over the opponent and steal the corner. And yes, even this hop still hits low. So if the opponent sees you rising up and it makes them stand block, you will kick them in the shins unless they block low. But that's still not all, if you can believe it. This move also destroys Ki Blasts. And that's still not all, because this move is also invincible to low attacks. And if all of that still wasn't enough, you can summon in the middle of this move. This allows you to summon in the air. And because you can summon in the air, it opens up high-low mix-up options. And if that still wasn't enough, you can use it as a fake out because you can also cancel it into Dragon Rush. And if that even still wasn't enough, no, I'm just kidding. That's actually all I can do. That's everything. But yeah, that is a lot. 5H. Me and my community, we call that the meme button because it really is. It literally got buffed every single patch. It used to just be a regular button like every other button in the game. But I guess, I don't know, maybe the developers had some sort of running joke going and they literally buffed it every single patch. So yeah, now 5H, you may as well say it's Ginyu's second special move because it does a lot more than any natural button in this game. Closing out his grounded buttons, his 2H is very standard. It is just a 2H, nothing much to say there. It stays grounded, so you can always chain it into his shoulder or a force call or whatever you need to. It doesn't go into the air, so it's not that unsafe. Nothing much to say about that one. Air buttons. He has some very good air buttons. Starting with his JL, it is multi-hitting. So this doesn't apply much to his pressure other than doing a double overhead attempt. That's really the only thing you'd be doing, but it is pretty good for staircasing the opponent down. The main usage of this, though, is that it is extremely good at beating Super Dash. I know this is the pressure section, but I figured I would just mention it here. It's very, very good at beating Super Dash. But continuing on with why we're here, the actual pressure, Jump medium. This is a fantastic jump medium, comes out in 10 frames. So this is your go-to IAD button. If you IAD with this, you can do JM into JL to create a double overhead. And even better, it is a fantastic cross-up button. Because of how far it reaches, you can cross up from very far away, and that frame 10 activation is very, very good for catching people off guard. And then his JH is just a very standard JH. Good for combo damage, kind of slow though. I would more recommend you use his JM, since again, you can turn it into a double overhead. Double is always better than single. Okay, now let's go ahead and talk about his summons when it comes to applying pressure. We'll do like we did with neutral, and we'll talk about my recommendation for which summons you should use in block strings. Starting with Guldo, my recommendation is his 236S. This is just a great block string option because it has pretty decent frame advantage at +20. And the best part about it is it will catch people out of the air. Even if your block string is not that tight, it'll catch them out of the air and allow you to apply more pressure. Raccoon, his is going to be the same as neutral, Eraser Gun. All the same reasons still apply here. It is just an incredible beam, but it's really, really good in pressure because it obscures Ginyu from vision so much. It's just hard to see what he's even doing, allowing you to sneak in overheads, empty lows, all that good stuff. Birder, my recommendation, 214S. This is basically designed for block strings because not only is it a two-part attack, but again, it steals the corner. So you can get really cheeky with this. You basically get two mix-up attempts. When he's going forward the first time, you can set up a 6M. If that hits, you'll actually get a combo for it. And if it's blocked, you'll still be plus. So you get sort of a multi-layered mix whenever you do this. And it doesn't even have to be a 6M. You can sneak in an IAD. You have a lot of options here. It's just really, really strong for block strings. Stealing the corner is incredibly powerful in any situation. So yeah, the fact that this has two layers to it and steals the corner makes it a fantastic block string option. And then for Geese, similar to neutral, I would recommend both Pressure Ball and Purple Comet depending on what you have available. Block string Pressure Ball is really good if you delay it. If you hold S, you can do 5M, and then basically you put them into a deep block stun because the 5S will come out after your 5M. So as you can see, after doing a 5M, I'm +20. So obviously you have a lot of options here. You can go directly into another summon and still be plus. This is a very, very powerful option. But if that seems a little bit complicated, you can always just do Purple Comet. The 214 version is what I recommend. 214 Purple Comet is just great because it takes up so much space. It's very, very plus. Even though they can reflect in Super Dash, it is a high RPS moment, and it serves as great like optical illusion because you can definitely sneak in Dragon Rushes and cross up H's while they're busy staring at it. Okay, so now that we have gone over all of Ginyu's buttons and what his best summons for pressure are, let's go ahead and put that all together and talk about how to actually string his block strings and pressure sequences together. So the main aspect of Ginyu's pressure sequences really comes down to one thing and one thing only, and that is assists. I talked about it a little bit in the neutral section, but here even more so in the block string section, you absolutely have to have assists. That is because doing a summon on block is really, really unsafe. If your opponent is just mashing or waiting for their turn in any way, the moment you try to stop to summon, they're just gonna swing on you and hit you. This is why you need good assists. That way you can do your block string into an assist, and if the opponent tries to swing, basically they're gonna die. So for this reason, it's always good for one of your assists to have at least decent block stun. Your safest bet is for it to be at least +30. When you're fishing around or shopping around for assists, make sure you go for one that's +30. That's gonna make it to where you can easily call it and still get your assist out comfortably, because this is the kind of situation that you want. You want to be able to do one of your mediums, call the assist, do your summon, and still be plus. Let's see if I can do that right here. So that's what a opening sequence should look like. You want to start your block string, and then usually once you get to one of your mediums, you want to call your assist, and then while the assist is going off, do the summon of your choice. And once that summon is out, you can basically just kind of flowchart from there. So we should have a very good understanding of the basics of structuring pressure using assists and summons. But in order to push that pressure even further, we're going to want to pair summons together, just like we did in the neutral phase. So when you pair summons together on block, it's just going to increase your chances of opening the opponent up. Let's go ahead and take a look at a few quick examples. So probably the most infamous summon pair when it comes to pressure is Guldo Raccoon. Once again, if you pair both of their shouts, the Guldo shout and the eraser gun, you get this. So right there you saw he tried to mash on me. I didn't even do anything. I just let him mash and he got blasted by Raccoon. That's basically how it works. That pairing is so strong that even if you don't do nothing, you might end up with a combo. Another really strong one and a personal favorite of mine is Raccoon Birder. If you do Eraser Gun, the 236, with Birder's 214, you get this. So as you can see, very similar to the example that we looked at a second ago. I didn't even do anything. They took care of everything for me. So it created a mash-proof situation. And even if they block, they become completely obscured by the beam, so you can sneak in overheads. You get the follow-up attack and the corner steal. So as you can see, there is a lot of mixed potential here. And then the third example that we'll go over for now is Birder into Geese. If you do 214 into Crusher Ball, you get this. So that one is pretty self-explanatory too. There's really nowhere for the opponent to go. They gotta hold some mix, and this is not even factoring in having an extra assist to use. If you pair your summons properly, you can really keep the opponent guessing. All right, so now we have a really good understanding of how to structure our offense with the captain, but how do we actually get those hits? Let's go ahead and talk about some very simple but effective mix-ups. A really easy to replicate example that anyone should be able to do, and it works very well, the 5H hop mix-up. So what you're gonna need for this one is a block stun assist that is at least plus 30. I've got Piccolo B here for this example, very straightforward, easy to replicate assist. So what you're gonna wanna do is block string into this assist. When the assist gets called, you're gonna wanna cancel your block string into a 5H. You're gonna hold the button down so that he starts to spin. As soon as he starts to spin, you're gonna hit up to do the hop. And as soon as you go up, you're gonna hit 5S. For this example, we're gonna be using Birder. So put it all together and it should look like this. So it might take some practice before you can do it that quickly, but all together, that's what it should look like. If you wanna know if you're doing it right, tell the opponent to mash, and they should not be able to mash you out of this. And that's basically it. Once you can do that, it's just a matter of actually applying the mix-up. After the 5H hop, Ginyu is suspended in midair, so from there, you can do a delayed air dash. If the opponent ducks, you'll open them up. And you can mix that up with an empty low. And if the opponent is standing, waiting for you to do that overhead, once again, you'll open them up. The best thing about this particular mix-up is that it's very easy to get here. Ginyu's natural block string pressure is going to guide you here. We kind of showed an example of it already, but when you pair Guldo and Raccoon, that automatically sets you up for this. And just to summarize, because I know that's kind of a lot all at once, and we've been talking about a lot of concepts, so to summarize everything I did right there, putting it all together, I started with Guldo. It's the delayed Guldo, 236S. 236S, hold the button down. And then after that, I'm gonna do LL. And the reason I do the LL is to basically hold the opponent in place so that Guldo's Scream comes out and I get a free Raccoon summon. So if you time that all correctly, as you can see, you will still be plus even when Raccoon is coming out. And since you're plus when Raccoon is coming out, that gives you time to do 5L, 5M, 2M, and then by that point, they'll be in the Eraser Gun. And because they're stuck in the Eraser Gun, that gives you plenty of time to do the Charge H, hop into the mix-up. Okay, so we now should have a really good understanding of how to utilize the 5H hop mix-up. Let's quickly talk about what happens if the opponent actually guesses right and blocks it. What do you do then? Well, the answer is actually very simple. You just do it again. The beautiful thing about this mix-up is that it leaves you in the perfect position to do another mix-up. Let's say the option you choose is the empty low. Well, once you do the empty low and you see that the opponent blocked it, you can simply continue your string and call one of your assists. If you have an assist available, you can continue the string right into another mix-up. This is possible because after you do the Birder Hop, you now are going to be on the Jace Pressure Ball. And if you remember earlier, we talked about the fact that if you delay the Jace Crusher Ball by holding S and then doing 5M very quickly, it'll leave you extremely plus. So plus, in fact, that you can get another summon right away. And just from there, you can probably tell that yes, we can do the exact same mix-up all over again. Basically, as long as you have an assist available, you can continuously go for this mix-up until you get the hit. It's very, very strong. So if we put everything that we just talked about all together, it should look like this. It might take you a little bit of time to actually get this down, doing the different, summons and holds. If you can't do it right away, that's no problem. Keep in mind that just doing this by itself is really strong. Anytime the opponent blocks this situation, you get a lot of mix-up potential here because you can always try to sneak in a 6M. That's the classic. You can sneak in a Dragon Rush. Just remember that Dragon Rushing with Ginyu is actually pretty good due to the fact that there's so much stuff on the screen. And not just that, but the opponent is almost always going to be trying to reflect. If the opponent reflects at the right time, they can sort of get out of some of the mix-up here, but that makes Dragon Rushing very dangerous. So don't be afraid to throw some Dragon Rushes in there. You don't want to rely on them too much because, better players are going to block them. But it's more about keeping the opponent honest than breaking their guard. When you're Dragon Rushing with Ginyu, you're not trying to guard break anyone, you're trying to beat reflect. Okay, now that we've broken down all the important aspects of Ginyu, from his neutral to his pressure to his mix-ups, we got all the important stuff out of the way. Let's go ahead and quickly just go over the easiest aspect of any character, and that is the combos. For this section, there's not going to be a lot of explanation needed. I'm just going to show you his combo routes, so you can just take a look at the notations. I'll put the notations on the screen, so that will just explain how the combos work. I'll show you how they look. I'll try to pick the combos that I feel like are the easiest but I really want to highlight what I'm about to say. Like, if you listen to anything in this guide, that's what I'm about to say right now. If you cannot do Ginyu's difficult combos, don't worry about it. The last time I made a Ginyu guide, I feel like too many people got discouraged by not being able to do the advanced combos. If you can't do them, don't worry about it. Like, combos are ultimately not that important. Ginyu is such a complex character and he has so much going on that if you get a good handle of his neutral and his block strings and his Oki and all that other stuff, you can get by without doing like the craziest combos. Simple combos with him still build a ton of meter and do a ton of damage. So yeah, don't worry about it too much. But with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and break down his routes. We'll start with mid-screen, we'll go member by member, and then we'll do corner member by member. So let's go ahead and go through those really quickly here. Okay, moving on to the next section, we're going to be talking about another big one, very, very important, and that, of course, is your Oki. Oki being the situation where the opponent is getting up off the ground and you're applying pressure to them. Ginyu is one of the best Oki characters in the entire game. That is just due to the fact of how strong his summons are when you put them on people's wake up. Every single time you score a knockdown, it's just a free opportunity for you to put a summon on the opponent with no chance of them interrupting you. Basically, it's the same as having an assist available. You just get a free summon, the opponent has to deal with it, and you're completely free to apply pressure after they block it. So it leaves you pretty much safe from being hit by any sort of reversals, because by the time they actually get up, you're not even acting anymore, the summon is. So you can literally call the summon and block, and if they wake up Spark, wake up DP, wake up level 3, whatever, it just really doesn't matter because you're going to be blocking anyway, and then you can visually confirm whether they blocked or got hit, and then you can make your decision on what to do next from there. His Oki is really, really strong. So since it's the most prominent and what you'll be doing the most, we'll talk about corner Oki first, and then we'll talk about a little bit of neutral Oki afterwards. So for corner Oki, starting with Guldo, I probably don't even need to tell you, but it is the shout. The shout. This is probably the best Oki move in the entire game, period. So there, as you can see, it doesn't matter what they do, Guldo has to be blocked. He covers up tech, back tech, teching in place, delayed tech, everything. This is a forced to block situation. 9 times out of 10, the opponent is going to up tech and then try to backdash, and guess what? You get frozen for doing that too. So yeah, in summary, the Guldo shout is the GOAT. It is by far your best Oki tool. That's why Ginyu's combo structure is set up to always go to Jis. That way, by the time you're done doing his combo, it's going to be Guldo's turn all over again, and Guldo masterfully covers the wake up for you. Next up is Raccoon, and of course, it is Eraser Gun. This is good in every situation, as we talked about before. Wake up is no different. When you put Eraser Gun out, it just covers up so much space. It's very hard for them to interrupt it. If they're mashing or doing anything, they're gonna get picked up. Since you're free to move, you can cover the up tech if they try to up tech and escape that way. And of course, once they block it, it sets them up for the Birder Mix. Also, this is a really cheeky little setup that'll hit most people most of the time. If you do this and then you Dragon Rush, this is a really nice setup because you'll throw people for up teching, and if they back tech, you can't be punished because you recover before the Eraser Gun ends, so you still get your turn anyway. But of course, this is the most infamous thing. The real strength of the Guldo shout and Eraser Gun is doing them together. When you do them together, it just creates the nastiest situation in the game in terms of Oki. The only thing close, I would say, is Beer's Orb Prison. I'd say that's the only thing that kind of comes close. But yes, this completely locks them down. Guldo sets them up. By the time they're done blocking Guldo, you're incredibly plus, so you get the free Raccoon call. After the Raccoon call, you can do literally anything. If they up tech, it's going to bring them down into it. So you get free pressure there. And I basically showed an example in the combo section, but if they try to get out, they're fully comboed. For Birder, his best wake-up option is the 214, but you can also use the 236. This one's gonna be up to you and your opponent. If you know your opponent likes to up-tech a lot, then the 236 is a good option because they will up-tech into it and you will get some good pressure. However, I prefer the 214 because of all the numerous reasons. I'm not going to repeat everything again, but 214 is just great. It's amazing on wake up because by the time he does the first fly through, they're already getting up. So all the pressure options we talked about in the previous sections apply here. And of course, if you pair this with Geese, similar to Goldo Raccoon, this creates a nearly inescapable trap. And for Geese, you can just keep it simple and do the purple Comet 214 version. This just offers a lot of pressure, a lot of visual noise. And keep in mind, anytime you do a Dragon Rush knockdown into a summon, you get a safe jump. So that safe jump, even if the person tries to wake up level 3 or reversal, you will block in time while applying a nice meaty overhead on them. So using that here to force them to engage with the purple comet is really strong. And if you're feeling a little cheeky, you can even summon it earlier. That way it is further along in the animation by the time they get up. Mid-screen, most of the options I would say are the same except for Goldo. Mid-screen Goldo, I would recommend 5S for that reason right there. It chases up techs, and again, people love to backdash, super dash, neutral jump, whatever. They like to do that after an up tech, so Goldo is really good for nailing them right there. Everyone else is basically the same. Raccoon, business as usual. For Birder, I would almost always recommend Fastest in the Universe. It's just good because being able to get this assist out mid-screen is always strong. And then Geese, same deal. I would say 214 Purple Comet is a very safe, very reliable option. So clearly Ginyu has very, very strong Oki options, but it actually, if you can believe it, it still doesn't stop there. Ginyu has an incredibly unique Oki option that we haven't covered yet, and that is his level 2. So Ginyu's level 2 used to be a straight up damage enhancement. However, a few patches back, they actually removed the damage buff but enhanced the hit stun. So if you look at the reaction here when I do the level 2, you'll see that they will bounce up in the air and then land on the ground. This works even after a combo. So if I do a combo here and then level 2, they do that bounce. Now, the reason this is relevant is because after you do the level 2, you can cancel it into any special move of your choosing. So you can cancel it directly into a Ginyu Force summon. So if you score a knockdown and you want to put some extra damage on it, you can get some damage before you start your Oki. And as you can see, I had him set to try to mash right there, and even if he would have back-teched, he would have gotten hit by Goldo. Because of the bounce, they are forced to wake up into the summon. This is actually stronger than doing the knockdown regularly, because if the opponent tries to delay their wake up, which might be able to trip you up sometimes, it doesn't work against the level 2. As you can see there, I could plainly tell that he delayed his wake up because of the fact that he did that plopping down on the ground animation. Like when you see that thud, that means that the opponent is holding down, so now you know they have delayed their wake up, so you can adjust your setup accordingly. This option is really, really strong because most of the time people are not used to this reaction of not being in a slide knockdown, so a lot of times people don't even realize that they're up and they just get hit for free. So I would highly recommend, if you have 2 bars, this is a great way to just add some damage onto your combo and get some really, really strong pressure using some of the Oki tools we talked about earlier. And of course, we can't end the Oki section without talking about Ginyu's level 3. Ginyu's level 3 is a fantastic and incredibly powerful resource for many, many reasons. The first of which being, it's just really powerful. It is a strong level 3 and does a lot of damage. The second being, it leaves you in a really good position. You can see after it connects, no matter how close you were to them before it connects, it gives you this nice gap here. And due to this gap, you can safely and confidently summon afterwards without worrying about the opponent waking up with a DP or waking up with buttons or anything like that. You're too far away for them to be able to immediately interact with you, so that helps a lot with your Oki and your pressure. But the best thing of all about it, the biggest benefit to the level 3 is you get to choose the member that you want. So whichever button you hold during the cinematic will decide which summon you get to call when the cinematic is over. The L button is Guldo, M button is Raccoon, H button is Birder, and S is Jeese. This is just hugely beneficial because you get to decide what kind of mix-up you want to do and what kind of pressure you want to apply. And if all that wasn't enough, the mix-up potential that you get from it is very, very strong. Just to show a few quick examples here. So, as you can see, his pressure afterwards is very, very strong. It is a situation where the opponent basically has to block, and because they have to block, you can set them up for any of the numerous mix-ups we talked about before. That's why Raccoon is probably the most popular option that you see after the level 3, because once you set up his level 3, it gives you the Birder mix. Any Birder mix that you want. Be sure to always mix things up after your level 3 in order to keep the opponent guessing. Okay, getting close to the end now. Only a few more sections to cover. It's time to talk about defense. While most characters share sort of the same defensive options in this game, Ginyu does have a couple of unique ones. Let's take a look. So much like most of the cast, Ginyu's level 3 is invincible, fully invincible on frame 1, so you can always use that as a get off me. It hits full screen, so if you ever have a big read on a big attack, you can fly full screen and hit people out of things, so always keep that in mind. However, something actually unique to Ginyu is the properties, again, of his level 2. We talked a little bit about his level 2 in the Oki section and how strong it is for Oki, but it's actually really good as a reversal. In one of the last updates, they made level 1 and level 2 supers invincible on frame 4, so they can get interrupted if there's a very small gap, but if there's a medium-sized gap in there, let's just say, I don't want to bog down too many people with numbers. I know some people get a little, scared of frame data, but if there's sort of a medium-sized gap, you can use his level 2 to break out. And why this is so good is because of this reason right here. That's right, his level 2 is safe on block. So if you ever wake up with this or use it out of a block string, you can save yourself by immediately canceling it into shoulder. This works even if the opponent is reflecting. Even if they reflect the super, you can still do the shoulder and make yourself safe. It's really cheap. It's actually crazy because this even works as a DHC. And besides that, I just want to repeat one more time because it's really important. Never forget the strength of his neutral 5S. People are going to be shooting ki blasts at you like crazy, so you can always 5S to bypass any incoming ki blasts. I didn't mention this before, but if you're airborne, it reflects ki blasts. This is not as good, however, because the reflect frames will wear off partway through the animation. So if you're trying to use this skill, stay grounded because the air version is just not as good. You will get picked up sometimes by ki blasts. And again, don't forget about 5H. It's invincible to ki blasts and lows. Do not forget. It's so crazy and kooky, but yeah, it's invincible to both. Okay, and now that we've covered basically every single important aspect of Ginyu's kit, it's finally time to talk about the team building side of things. So let's start with his assists. So Ginyu's 3 assists are, his A assist is the shoulder. This is a very, very standard, very vanilla assist. It comes out decently fast at 25 frames. It's plus 33 on block, so it's decent. Covers a very rudimentary vanilla zone. It goes pretty far, so it's just an all right assist. Nothing really special about it. The best thing I would say about it is the hit stun. When the opponent gets hit, they do this spinning out animation, so it's very easy to convert off of it. Even if it hits from like tip range, it's very, very easy to convert, so that's probably the best thing about it. Not the best assist in the world, but definitely not a bad option. His C assist, however, how do I put this? It's terrible. It's really bad. He comes out, does a medium, does the final part of his auto combo, and then smacks you down. It's really, really bad. I don't want to bog down the guide by going over all the terrible things about it. It can misfire. It can just miss the opponent. If you're too active, you can push them out of the way of it. It misses often in combos. It's very, very narrow. It's really bad. Stay away from this one. Then there's his B assist. Oh boy. If you've been on my channel for any amount of time, you would know that I have very complicated feelings about this assist. So again, I don't want to bog the review down with all of this, but Ginyu B is good on a surface level, but when you really break it down, it's kind of terrible too. But it's also the assist that you have to use because it's his only like one that really works. So to explain it, he summons 2 members at a time every time you call it. It'll always be Guldo and Raccoon, followed by Birder and Geese. Basically, they will cycle through all of their summons in a particular order, that order being S, 236S, and then 214S. And then it'll start back at S again. So it'll always be S, 236, 214, and then the pairs. So trying to keep track of this assist during a match is very difficult because there are so many different permutations and so many different combinations that you're almost always going to lose track. So that's difficulty number 1. Difficulty number 2, you give up doing combo conversions. This is not a combo conversion assist. Most characters cannot convert this. So if you land a super dash, you're not using Ginyu B to convert into combos. That's just not happening. Number 3, it's also not very good in block strings because most of the assists are varied in timing or very slow. So again, it is hard to use it in block strings unless you get certain combinations. Like that one's pretty good, but if you get a purple comet, stuff like that, it can be very, very hard to use in sort of a normal block string sequence. What's great about it though, and I'll turn the UI on for this one, is well, UI jump scare. The meter build that you get, if I put our meter all the way down to nothing, you will see that every time you call it, you get a healthy chunk of meter. The first one gives you a little bit. The second call gives you a little bit more. And then the third call gives you a lot. So every time you do 3 calls, that's a bar and a half of meter every single time. So The meter gain is fantastic. It's the best thing about it. The meter gain is there because the developers are acknowledging that you can't combo off of it or block string with it. So that is what it's there to do. It's basically just on the screen to create chaos and give you meter. That's really the only purpose of Ginyu B. So what is the problem with it? I'm not gonna go too deep into it, but it is glitched. It's glitched in two ways. The first way being if you summon it and the summons get hit, then there is a high percent chance, I would say like a 70% chance, that Ginyu will bug out and it will prevent him from summoning multiple characters. The game will basically get confused and think that the person who got hit never left the screen. So basically, you can only summon one member at a time. And if you can only summon one member at a time, that means you can't do any of Ginyu's combos and you can't do good block strings or good Oki setups. So he becomes basically a wasted character. And the other bug is something that I haven't even talked about yet, but I'm gonna just very, very briefly go over it. And that is the Guldo freeze. So Guldo can stop time for 1 second, like Jotaro in part 4. If the opponent is in hit stun and you call Guldo, see how Goku froze there? That freeze is there to help you get combos. So let's say that I'm all the way over here and I hit him with Geese and I don't think I'm gonna make it. I can do Geese Guldo and Guldo will freeze them in time for me. It's very, very handy. It opens up a lot of different unique combo opportunities. However, the problem with it is very bugged. So bringing it back to Ginyu B, and this is gonna sound complicated, but I'm gonna explain it as easily as I can. If you summon Ginyu B and then you tag Ginyu in, you lose the freeze. So I'm gonna do what I just did, the exact thing that I just did, and my Guldo freeze will now be gone because I used Ginyu B. So as you can see, Guldo is no longer freezing him because he is now bugged. The assist version cannot freeze them, so when you use the assist version, it takes the buff away from you. So again, you lose your combo opportunities by using Ginyu B. That is one of the two bugs. It is a gift and a curse. That assist, like I said, it brings a lot of chaos and it brings a lot of meter, but it takes away a lot. Okay, continuing on with the theme of team building, let's go ahead and talk about what Ginyu actually wants and needs to function properly, as well as his team position. So right off the bat, I'm just going to recommend Point. I feel like Point is Ginyu's best position by far, because Ginyu, with 2 assists behind him, is really strong. For example, if you were to place 2 beam assists behind him, you can really, really go crazy. If you've been following the guide so far, you should understand how powerful a beam assist is behind him. So his ability to steamroll and take over the neutral and apply pressure with things like beams behind him, I feel like it's too good to pass up. Also, he is just much, much stronger with the time freeze. When you lose the time freeze by tagging him out, he becomes a bit weaker and harder to convert with. But having that just makes him such a better character. So when the match starts and you haven't tagged him out yet, that is when Ginyu is at his best, in my opinion. However, you can also run him as an anchor. He is a fantastic anchor because of the fact that he is completely self-sustained. I know I said that he utilizes assists a lot, but he can definitely still apply good block string pressure with his normals, and he can control the neutral and the Oki all by himself, even without assists. It can be harder, but it's definitely doable. And he does so much solo damage and builds so much meter that it's very realistic to make comebacks with him, not to mention body change. If you were to ask me who some of his best partners are, I would say his best partner without a doubt would be Baby. Baby just augments Ginyu as a character. His B assist is great for Ginyu in a variety of ways. It layers with all of his assist calls really well. It sets up for Ginyu Force combos in really good and unique situations. It also gives him all the block stun he needs to do Ginyu Force mix-ups. And when Baby's on screen, his 6H powers up Ginyu a lot. Anytime you land a 6H with Baby, you can bring Ginyu in to do Ginyu Force combos or body changes, stuff like that. There's a really powerful duo, and Baby gets a lot from having Ginyu behind him as well. They play off of each other really well. Frieza is another one. Frieza plays really well with Ginyu. Frieza's B assist is good for letting Ginyu get his summons out, although it's not too good on block. It's good for letting him get his summons out. His C assist is also really good. It's a really good neutral cleanup tool. When Frieza is out, he benefits highly from Ginyu B. His zoning gets augmented by it a lot. And these two have some cool DHC synergy, as well as they have some unique Purple Comet routing as well. Vegeta is another one. For some of the same reasons. His assists are fantastic for Ginyu, especially his A and his C. Anytime you have an invincible assist behind Ginyu, that's great because, you know, you can kind of clear the board and get your summons out. And then Vegeta is another one who his active tag options are very strong with the rapid fire ki blast. You can get body change and Ginyu Force combos off of that as well. Piccolo's another one, whether you use his A or his B assist, both of those assists benefit Ginyu greatly in my opinion. The A assist just adds more chaos to his summoning, while his B assist is a fantastic defensive assist and block stun assist. And having Piccolo behind Ginyu to come in and do Hell Zone off of Ginyu Force routes is basically like a TOD machine. Nappa also pairs really well with him. His A assist is great for Ginyu as well as his B assist. He gets really good combo follow-ups off of Purple Comet. And having Ginyu B behind Nappa is kind of diabolical because you're just filling the screen with nonsense and giving Nappa as much meter as he wants to summon Cybermen. Krillin is another great one. His beam assist and his rock assist are both fantastic for Ginyu. They both feed each other meter, especially with the Senzu and the Ginyu B. Putting these two together would basically give whatever team that you're running, you could basically say infinite meter if you put these two together. But outside of those very specific cases, I would say those are some of the best examples of Ginyu partners. But he pairs really well with most characters in the game, honestly. As long as they have a good ranged assist, like a beam or a beam-like, or just something that goes full screen quickly, then they can work well together. But characters should get priority if they get extra damage off of Purple Comet, and they get even more points if they help set up body change. And with that, we have reached the end of my final guide for Captain Ginyu. Thanks so much for listening, guys. This is something that I've wanted to do for quite a while. I'm glad I finally got around to it. My original Ginyu guide was my first major guide that I ever did on my channel. And now this is the first guide that I've done with my VTuber model. So I kind of feel like things have come around full circle. The main thing that I tried to do here was to try to keep things a little bit more condensed. I tried to avoid information overload this time. I feel like in my last video, I had a little bit too much information. So hopefully I hit that happy medium there of you will actually, by the time you get to this point, I hope you feel like you really understand the character and how to play him. And I hope you feel excited to get out there and start actually using him, because Ginyu is a really fun character. I feel like people don't use him enough just because he's kind of intimidating, but hopefully with the information in this guide, you don't really feel that intimidation and you're looking more to the fun fact of controlling all the wacky, crazy things he can do in the middle of a match. As always, if you found this helpful at all, I would appreciate a like. It does help out the channel a lot. Also consider subscribing if you want to see more from me. If this is your first time here, I do a lot of different guide content. I do guides and uploads regularly for this, Guilty Gear Strive, Grand Blue, and I'm going to be playing a lot of the tag games in the near future. I also stream most nights around 8 p.m. Central on Twitch, so feel free to check out any of the links below to come join us over on the Twitch side of things, where we play a bunch of fighting games and a bunch of other variety games too. But as always, you guys have a good one, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.